Hello everyone, it's great to have you all on board. It's another time with Tutor.io, the enthusiastic tutor, and in today's tutorial, it happens to be the continuation on the course ECO311. And in today's class, we'll be talking about research problem. Okay, we want to consider what it means by research problem, right? So for those of us who are new to the stream, let's ensure to smash like button, all right? Subscribe to the channel, and let's ensure to join the private class where we walk you through all your classes without leaving any course untouched, okay? So now, we talked about what research is, all right? And we've been able to establish the fact that when it comes to research, there's a reason behind every research, all right? It's either you are solving a problem, providing a solution to a particular problem, or you are developing upon what is existing, or what has existed, all right? Or you are bringing back to life what has existed, or developing what is currently in existence. So it depends on what you intend to achieve with your research work. So now, when we talk about research problem, we want to first consider the fact that identification is very important when it comes to research problem. All right, identification is the first thing. Now, I'm very sure you must have heard of this before now, that once you realize that there's a problem, that the solution is very near indeed. All right, but at the stage whereby you still don't know that there's a problem, all right, then there is no solution. There's no even hope for solutions coming from anywhere. But the moment you realize that I think there is a problem, then you know how to go about solving that problem, because now you realize that there's a problem and you must definitely look for a way around solving it. So now identification is very important when it comes to research problem. Okay, now the identification of problem is very vital to the whole process of research. Okay, very vital to the whole process of research. Now, from this problem identification, you can now tell that, okay, this is my strategy. This is what I'll be employing. This is what I'll be doing. My approaches, my method to gather more information about this particular problem. All right. And this I'm going to measure each steps I take. This will be my hypothesis and many more. All this can be said based on one thing: you've been able to identify the research problem. Okay, so now let's take this. Now you may spend considerable amount of time examining many research problems without being able to make up your mind on which one to select. All right, as seemingly simple as this might sound, research problem can be very taxing. Okay, it might be very taxing because you need to identify that, okay, this is the problem I want to work on, and that can be very demanding. Most people, especially the starting researchers, have problems of indecision in identifying a particular problem, and that's why I said it might not be as easy as it seems. I can remember then when I was about to write my project, one thing I considered when selecting a research problem is this problem I'm choosing. All right, this problem I have chosen, are they accessible data? All right, and how accessible are these data? Can I easily lay my hand on them? Do I have respondents who will be able to give me, all right, who will be able to make out time to fill my questionnaires? How long will it take me to work on this thing? Work on this problem. These are the things we all need to consider. And that's why it is said that researchers are just starting, that might be a big issue for them to confirm, all right, which problem to go with. Okay? And this is basically because fear of picking a complex problem that might not be easily solved. All right? So that's why I said research problem in research. When you can confidently select a problem, all right, but before you can select this problem, there are certain things you must consider though. But by consideration, when you select a problem, then the rest is easy. All right. So now, for you to identify a good researchable topic and successfully determine, all right, the gap, talking about the problem of research in the topic, there are three basic stages, all right, to reduce. There are three basic stages of reductive deduction to be taken, all right, into consideration. All right, so let's consider these three basic reductive deductions, and they are: the first one, you need to identify a problem area of focus in your field of specialty. Underline your field of specialty. All right, so let's take this down. Three basic stages of reductive deductive need to be taken into consideration. All right, three basic needs to consider before choosing, okay, a research problem. Now the first one, you need to first identify a problem area of focus. All right, a problem of focus in your field of specialty. A problem area of focus in your field of specialty. Now, this is very true. All right, my research work was basically on my area of specialty. Then I was working in more food. All right, I was in the hospitality industry. So my area of concentration, my focus of area of problem was the hospitality industry, because where I'm working, this is how I know how things work. This is how I know how things move, the trend of things. So you must choose your area of specialty. All right, an area whereby you know that at least you have a basic understanding of how things work. Also, make sure the identified problem is shaped into a form that is able to handle, and lastly, see the nature of the problem can be empirically investigated. So now this is what I'm going to do. Let's repurpose this question. Okay, let's repurpose this. Just give me a moment. Now, it says, the first one, choose a problem in your area of specialty. The second one, make sure the problem is not beyond your capacity. All right, shaped into a form that is able to be handled. So what are we talking about here? Problem handling capacity. All right, make sure it's something. When I say capacity, it goes a long way. Financially, mentally, physically, resource wisely. All right, you don't want to choose a problem that you know that definitely you can't get data. All right, or you spend a fortune before you can get data that will be sufficient. All right, don't want to take a problem that you know that you can't get respondents to fill your questionnaire. Make sure that the problem is within your capacity. Even though it's not within your capacity, it's within the capacity that whereby you can reach out to people, all right, or you can reach out to assistants to help gather resource and pool resource together, just so that you get your project through. And lastly, Okay, okay, that was the theme of the network. So we are back now. So as I was explaining, ensure the chosen problem can be subjected to empirical research. All right. The nature of the problem can be empirically investigated. The nature of the problem can be empirically investigated. All right. You can apply scientific methods, scientific procedures to make your findings about the problem you have chosen. All right. So now we have as that our time is fast spent. So I want us to work. I want us to move a step further. Okay. So now, let's talk about problems researchers encounter during their research work. All right. Problem researchers face during their research work. Now, first and foremost, everything in life has sources. All right. So the very first thing we want to talk about is the source of the research. Now, everything in life has source. For instance, your source of income could be the money you have paid from the little job you are doing. All right. So now what I'm trying to say is even the water you drink has a lot of avenue through which it is gotten. Now, in like manner, research problems have various avenues through which they could be located or identified. Okay, it is therefore it becomes expedient, very important, to discuss the various avenues of locating or identifying your research problem. All right. So now we want to talk about the problems, as we said, but we want to look at it from the angle. We want to look at it from the angle of the sources. All right. Now, what we are being told here is what is being emphasized here on basically is that when it comes to research work, the resource is very important. Now, let's put it this way. The resource determines the material. Okay? Good. Are we on the same page? The resource determines the material. Okay? The resource determines what? Your hypothesis. Okay? The resource will determine your method and approaches. The resource will determine your project design. So the resource goes a long way. The foundation, it is the pivot point. So you need to determine this my research that I'm going into, that I want to start. Is the resource accessible? Do I have enough material? Do I have enough resources to, all right, to sustain, to start is not a problem, but to start, sustain, and finish. So you must consider the problem of research. The first thing is the source. Okay, so like I said, it is very important for us to discuss the various avenues of locating and identifying research problems. And some of these are the experience of the researcher. Now, as an experienced researcher or lecturer who has lectured for a long time, you definitely would have come across a number of problems, imperfections, or some gaps that require solution. Now, even Even through rubbing of mind with your colleagues in the same profession will enable you to discover areas which there are problems and require solution. So what we're talking about, your experience will definitely determine how well you can identify a problem that requires solution. Experience goes a long way. Also, we have the review of existing literature. All right, talking about source. All right, we have experience. We have review of existing literature. Literatures are books. All right, knowledge passed down by other scholars through books. So this is another good source of identifying problem area of interest or research problem on. That is literature review. And that's reviewing. Okay, so we have the likes of textbook, theses, dissertations, research reports, journals, periodicals, papers, conference papers, and the likes are all good example of literature. Are good example of a review of literature review. Okay, so we also have scholars view. Now, when we talk about scholars view, what are we talking about here in essence? We are simply referring to a moment. Now, consulting with professionals such as economists, sociologists. Now, I said something about reaching out to others to help you. All right, do your research work. So now, so I think I need to erase this. Okay. So we've talked about under the source now. Under the source now, we've talked about um, the experience. All right. So we're talking about literature review. All right. So we also have the scholars view. Okay. Scholars view. All right. When we talk about scholars now, you reach out to professionals. All right, in certain field, in any of the specialized field you want to go into. All right, and they can lead you to identifying. They can help in directing you or help you to realize certain area. All right, government policy is also a very good source to identify where problems are that needs solutions. All right, or that needs attention. So we have that as that. Just a moment. We also have also a good it's also a good repository for what we are discussing. All right. So I think we've been able to do justice to. All right. Okay, let's quickly take this. So we have it here. It says the guidelines of choosing research problem. All right. So when you talk about choosing research problem, there are certain guidelines you must observe. So you need to first consider how significant the problem is. Is it worth the effort? All right. The research, even the problem you are choosing to work on is worth the effort. All right, that's number one. Number two, you also need to consider how how researchable is the problem. All right, how researchable is the problem? Can this problem be researchable? Right? Is it something you can commit into and you not get stuck along the way? All right, that you also need to consider as well. All right. So we also have, it says, we talked about this already. When we talk about the nature of the problem, whether it can be investigated. It says problem of research should be suitable, mean that your research can be investigated. Okay, can be investigated. It has to do with reality and it can be investigated easily. Okay, and lastly, it says a research problem should be viable. All right. Viable in the sense that your research problem should be able to create room for other questions. It must raise more questions and from there you have options to go for, to solve, to make your empirics on. So we have that as that. And next class, we'll talk about research. Pretty sure 2 weeks we'll be done with this. By next we'll be concluding with the course. So thank you very much. If you've been able to gain something in today's class, let's ensure for it and it quarters. Do have a wonderful evening. I look forward to seeing you in 23 hours. Bye for now.